Measurable Marketing, Howard Walpoff. Howard, how you doing there?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
We're going to be talking for about a half an hour. We're going to be talking about, ways to increase solopreneurs or entrepreneurs' businesses based on some of the concepts you've come up with. And right off the bat, I love the concept of measurable marketing. Why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit what that means to the people, even if they're a novice like me who knows nothing about marketing per se.
Well, it's very important when you're going out to market yourself, market a product, market a business, to really have set goals to what you want to accomplish. You can't just go out there and spend some money on ads without having a sense of what kind of results you're looking for from the ads. What is success? What is failure? What is in between? And this way allows you to know when you've hit marks, know when you have to make adjustments on the fly, and know when you're exceeding expectations and can celebrate.
Look at you. I just told you the story of, my son. He was trying to throw a little bit harder. And without knowing where he was at the beginning and then where he was kind of, well, I'll just say at the end, well, how do you know if you've really improved? If you've gone from, let's just say, 70 miles per hour to 79 miles per hour, unless you record the 2 points, so you have a delta, and that should hopefully make the difference so you know, the stuff that I'm employing is actually working. So that's basically what you're saying, right?
Exactly, but there's also other measures that come into effect. Obviously, you've touched on a very warm spot with me with baseball. You might be throwing harder, but your spin rate might be faster, and it changes the direction that the ball goes. So it's not just that you've gone up from 92 to 93, but you now have a dip in your fastball they didn't have before, and that movement is allowing for batters to swing through your pitch. Where if you weren't trying to measure what you were doing, you wouldn't have that success, and you wouldn't know what kind of changes have happened along the way.
Look at Howard. Howard knows a little bit about spin rate, a little bit about baseball, huh?
Been 5 years working in baseball.
Are you serious?
I worked in the minor leagues with the Brooklyn Cyclones.
No way. Were the Yankees affiliate?
It's a Mets affiliate.
No way. Holy man. That's a whole nother argument. Wow. Let's talk about that later, actually. All right. So why you? I mean, why you? It sounds like you're the marketing guru. I love the idea of measuring an increase, hopefully not a decrease in ROI as an example. But why you? Why are you the expertise? Why do you have that expertise in what you have?
Well, my biggest skill is listening. I really love to hear stories about what people are doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, what was the reason that made them do it. And you learn a lot of things from that. But the biggest thing that I've learned along my career, especially my career with coaching business owners and others in business, is that specifically the business owner, people didn't go to college to become a business owner. They didn't learn how to do it in college. They learned how to be an employee. So anyone who's an entrepreneur out there who's a business owner really have had to figure out on the fly or find different ways or read books in after the fact they've made the decision to become a business owner to learn how to do things. And that brings challenges, especially when you have a focus that you are an expert on. So if you're a plumber, you know about plumbing, you can get under that sink and fix that pipe and fix that leak. But how to market yourself that you're a plumber and how to deal with all the HR issues because you now have employees, that might not be your forte, and things start to get very heavy. Those hats don't always fit on the head, especially when you have 3 or 4 of them you're trying to wear at the same exact time.
Yeah, I get it. So I'm going to make it, this is going to be pretty tough. So I'm going to ask you for 3 things a business owner, a solopreneur, entrepreneur should be thinking about with respect to their marketing. And that's a tough one. So give me 3 things off the top of your head. We have not prepared. I like to, this to be pretty organic conversation, but throw 3 things that you think are pretty vital as far as marketing goes for an entrepreneur.
Well, it starts with the brand. You have to have a brand that is, I guess we're going to different vantage points. Let's start with understandable. And then at the highest end, really visible and really speaks your message. 2, you have to have that messaging, that statement of who you are, what you do, why you are better than everyone else, and what are you providing that's added value into in comparison to some of the other competitors in there. That's very important when you're trying to differentiate who you are and what you do. And 3 is basic information. You're telling a story. Your story might be a short story. This is the special. This is the event we have going on. This is the sales price for this item, this widget that's going on, and you hit them hard and hit them fast. And if you have the money to spend, have that reach and frequency to have that ongoing, so
Hmm.
that people are absorbing it and taking advantage of it.
All right. Wow. So brand, messaging, and information. So let's go to number one. Explain if you. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more, and you probably want to have it picked. So explain a little bit more about what you mean about the brand. Like I'll use us as an example. VastSolutionsGroup.com. We've been around since 1969. We haven't done any marketing. We're only word of mouth, right? Now we're starting to do a podcast, April 15th. Just recently we started doing a podcast. What can we do to kind of expand our brand and really take care of the number one component that you mentioned?
Well, I guess taking a step back, everything starts with the name. So if you're starting a business, you're trying to create a name that will stand out and make that first impression. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, when people are looking at your name, you have things that stand out already, and you have to take full advantage of them. Let's go in the middle. Solutions. You're providing solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Vast is a very big word.
Oh.
Sometimes people don't fully understand vast, but vast is and that's something to think about in the process too. But vast really is, there's a large amount of solutions that you provide. So you have to speak that to an audience in the different ways that you're doing it, whether that's logo, whether it's the introduction to the podcast, whether it's what they're experiencing when they go to your website in the process. Those are places where people are going to find you before you start going out of your way to be found in the process and speak that messaging.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like sometimes being specific. I think I represent a lot of business owners out there. It's hard to remember how important a brand is. I remember I was walking off the ferry talking to an IP attorney, and I said, "Why are IP attorneys so highly paid?" And he said, "If you don't have a brand, you don't have intellectual property, you don't have a business." And it really is important if you really think about it. But I'm just kind of working on my own little company and not even thinking about it. But really, brand is really important because brand is how people perceive you. And if they perceive that brand as a successful brand, they're going to be more apt to do business with you.
There are different ways over time that people and companies have advertised. So for years and years, the yellow pages that was it. People would find in the yellow pages, there'd be battles over who'd be in the front end of the advertising, and that's all based on seniority. But it's all about that name as people were going through the list of plumbers, is always my example, to find and who's going to jump out at them that they want to work with. With billboards, as things evolve, driving on the highways and everything, you had to have something that really stood out. I always thought that until they started with these digital billboards that a lot of cities have now, where you can change the messaging and be a little more creative and people can see it, you had to have something big and bright like a Pepsi or a Budweiser that stood out. If you try to put too many words on the billboard, no one has the time as they're driving by to not get into an accident if they're making the attempt to read it or have the time to read it. So you have to figure out the right place to message yourself in that process and make sure that message is hitting your target audience.
So you mentioned messaging. That was the kind of the number two component, that's important for marketing as far as a small business owner. When you say messaging, does that mean really, social media? Or does that mean when you're interacting with a client? What exactly do you mean by messaging?
Well, having that market dominating position, having that statement of who you are, what you're offering, and how you're doing it bigger and better than anybody else really is important. One of the earlier examples that I've worked with is Domino's. So Domino's Pizza, I think you and I can relate to it, maybe some of the younger listeners can't, but in the 80s, when they were trying to make their themselves known in the marketplace, they created this concept. If the pizza does not come to your house within 30 minutes of you ordering it, it's free. And that became part of their campaigns, part of their slogans. But that really was their market dominating position. And because they positioned themselves close to college campuses, close enough within really the 20 minutes, you got to get the 10 to cook it, they're able to knock that out. But people would be sitting there with stopwatches and it became a game, became a contest with it. But using that thought and finding your statement for your business that makes people remember it and think and emotionally involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
When you can do that, you can see some great success.
I remember when that first came out, I thought that was a ridiculous idea. But now that I've learned a little bit more about marketing, it's like brilliant. Because I'm like, who cares about how fast you get your pizza? But it's really important. It's more, that message really sticks home with a lot of people. Here we are talking about it, 35, no, yeah, probably 35, 40 years later.
Longer.
You know what I mean?
Well, the decision that they are hungry is before they make the phone call. So
Yep.
now the waiting game happens. They're still hungry. They're getting hungrier. They're salivating now for that pizza. So the faster that someone can get it there, hot and fresh, it's going to make them a customer for life.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Now, again, looking back, I was young and naive back then. Like, now I'm old and naive. Information. So that was the number 3 component that you find important for, a solopreneur, entrepreneur. Go into information a little bit.
So if you have an offering that's going on, so you have your annual your sale or a tent sale or big promotion, you need to make sure that messaging gets out. It's not confusing. It's it's clear to the general public in general, but you're also focusing that you're speaking on. You should know who your target audience is. So you want to get that messaging out in places that they're going to find it. So if your target audience is men 25 to 55, you're not going to do any type of advertising on Pinterest, for an example, which is really female dominated. If for those that still participate with it, you have to figure out where your audience is, speak to them in the language that they understand. Sometimes using humor and I used to work in radio, so creating commercials that grab people's attention, because they can choose to not pay attention because technically they're driving and shouldn't be paying attention, or they can change the channel and to go find something else. So you need to grab their attention and make sure that this information has value for them.
Yeah, what I've really learned is, like you're saying, like if you want to market to a 50-year-old, as an example, you probably want to go to Facebook. If you want to do market, here we are in the United States right now, you and I both are in the United States. If you want to market to someone internationally, maybe WhatsApp makes sense. If you want to market to up to a 20-year-old, from 10 to 20-year-old, maybe you want to do Snapchat. You've got to market to your avatar. Your avatar is going to be in a certain place. You want to go fish where the fish are versus fish where the fish aren't. And I think that's really what you're saying. I mean, that's really, really important. Otherwise, you're going to spend money on nothing.
It's not just fishing where the fish are. You have to have the bait that they're going to be wanting to eat and attract it to your hook.
Yep. Speaking of a hook, I understand you have a book for sale, or at least maybe as a giveaway, because you're hopefully trying to market to our people, get some market share. And can you mention that a little bit and how someone could get a copy of this book?
Yeah, if you go to my website, Business Marketing Solutions is available on my website, which is profitmasterbusinesssolutions.com. Download it for free, and it really is 8 strategies that you can implement into most businesses. And by utilizing that, you can find $50,000 to $100,000 or more of hidden revenues in your business without spending additional dollar on marketing or advertising.
Hey, mention that one more time. Mention those 2 figures, $50,000 to $100,000, right? I like that.
So really, again, I mentioned before that not everyone is a marketer, even though they're a business owner and should have a focus on marketing. So there's a lot of things that they may gloss over and not implement into their business that is fairly simple and fairly simple to implement as well, but they don't really think about it in their pricing structure. So as an example, you have upsells, downsells, and cross sells. If you are trying to, so you look at McDonald's. McDonald's is the king of the upsell. So you want to get a soda from them, and you want to get a small soda, and they say, well, only for so much more, you can get a larger soda, and you still want the soda. You're about to make the purchase, so that's an upsell. And cross sells are things that are connected with each other but not exact. So you'll all be familiar with the line I'm going with. So if you want to buy a burger and they ask you, would you like fries with that? that's a cross sell. And there are
Mm-hmm.
many ways that you can implement that, not just if you're running a restaurant, but if you're running a business, things that are beneficial. I know my wife needs to get a new cell phone. They're going to offer us a bundle
Yeah.
for things with covers and plastic on top and car chargers. Those are things you can offer to someone. They've already making the purchase with the phone. They might be ready to spend more money in the process. So this can be implemented into many businesses, and this is what the book really goes through in very simple detail.
Just one last time again, can you mention the name of the book?
Yes, business marketing solutions, and you can find it at profitmasterbusinesssolutions.com.
Got it. Thank you very much. So let's review real quick. So number one, probably the most important thing to you as far as marketing goes is brand. Then number two, messaging. And then number three, information. Now let's just say someone's been in business for a long time. Now we're talking about someone who's, let's just say 20 years they've been in business. Their brand's really expanded. They've got a good brand name, let's say in their city. What then? What next? What would you suggest taking it to the next level? So we're talking about an experienced person here.
Well, again, it depends on what the goals are for that individual and their business.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's key to that you make reasonable goals, and if it's a regional restaurants, then you can look at different ways to expand into different markets. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to be you really have to do your research in the process. I was watching something last night on the History Channel, the creation of Benihana restaurants, and the thought in going from just New York and expanding different areas of New York to Chicago was the next market they want to tackle before going around the country.
Mm-hmm.
So having people come into that have an understanding of what kind of expansion you want to do is also very important. You do not want to jump into the deep end unless you know how to swim.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, Benihana is a great example, I would think, because all three of these things. I mean, the brand, they're, I would say, the name when it comes to their types of food. Their message is pretty clear, in my opinion, and the information, it's pretty. You know what you're getting from it when you walk in there, because the information's been spread out exactly how a company would want. I would think,
And that took a lot of process to get to that level.
Yeah. Plus, the son of the owner, Steve Aoki, does good music. Anyway, but I digress. Okay, so let's just say here, I'm going to ask a really kind of I'm going to throw you a curveball. How does that sound, Mr. Baseball? So let's just say someone doesn't have good service and their brand is, let's say, lack of a better term, messed up. Their messaging isn't very good, and their information isn't very good. How do we turn that around? How does a company turn that around, even though they've got, let's say they have a bad history with their clients or their patients or whatever the case is?
Yeah, that can be very difficult, and you have to have a strategy. Actually, it's funny. I'm not sure why this is coming into my head, but when I was in my freshman year of college, I had a roommate who was pledging a fraternity, and during that first semester, the fraternity folded. Now, the fraternity didn't have a good reputation at all, and it definitely was not popular, and no one really cared when it stopped, except for the pledges and a few of the brothers who didn't want it to die.
Okay.
So they then brought in new people to start up again. So they were able, just because of the Greek letters that were part of the fraternity, they were able to rebrand the fraternity and change the name without changing the spelling of the word. So basically, Tau Epsilon Phi is known around the country as TEP, but we decided to call it TE Phi. And that changed the vision of how people looked at it, because it was something, even though the letters are the same, it was something new that we were building, and then started to make changes in way we related to people and messaging and advertising. But when you look at it as a company, if you're going to keep the name, you have to figure out ways to brush it off and dust it off and make it look and sound better. But if the problem is you have to own your mistakes, and you have to see how you can fix them. It really is starting with, this is not just piecemeal. You have to have a strategy. first we're going to work on our own customer service and focus on the customers we have. Then we're going to focus on the customers we lost and try to figure out how to get them back. Then we're going to try to go on and bring in new customers in the process. It's not all going to happen at the same time, and you really have to develop a process. And again, customer service is so important in every aspect. The slightest little thing can change someone's demeanor and thought about, and especially now where they can just put you on blast and put you on social media that they had a bad experience and it changes everything. Or the right person puts something out that they had an amazing experience and it can change everything.
Yep. So let's talk about that. Let's say someone, what's the best way to get recommendations in your opinion? Because that's part of marketing. That I think helps with a brand. Like, is it Google, is it Google and is it Yelp? You know how you can increase your presence on Google. You can have, different. So you get 5 stars on Google as an example.
Yep.
What are some of the suggestions you think make sense for an entrepreneur of any sort?
It starts with communication. No one's going to give you a review unless they've had an experience that they want to give a review for. So if they had a great experience, you went out of your way with your customer service, they may do it on their own or as part of your sales process, depending on what type of business you have. It could be an ask in the process. You're checking in with someone 2 weeks, 2 months down the line. You say, hey, would it be possible? Can I send you a link? Can you put a review for us on Google?
Yeah.
Hey, you're here right now. Let me give you an iPad and just punch it in. And if you can give us a review, that would be great. And that's how you build it up. You can't just assume they're going to happen.
Yep.
Sometimes things happen in a very positive way that you don't have the full control of. So social media and influencers has really changed a lot of things. There's a guy named Keith Lee who just as a lark started doing food reviews. And lo and behold,
what'd you say? Food reviews?
Food reviews. And in Las Vegas, businesses started to explode because he got caught an audience on TikTok and can make or break a restaurant. And then he started going out to different markets and doing this. I believe there's a TV show in the process that will even more so help some of these businesses. But there are people who begged him to come and then did a terrible job of serving, did a terrible job of the taste of the food. And he was honest and let people know he's not trying to bash anybody, but this is my experience. He gave you a 2 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10. But those that got the 9, 8, 9s out of 10 went from they're barely making payroll to now they can expand their kitchens.
Got it. Yeah. That shows you. I mean, I don't know much about influencers, et cetera, the use of, but I think sometimes it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they've always been around, but just now there's a term influencers. But I think if a business really needs an edge and wants to get going quickly, to me, it seems like influencers can help, especially if you're on social media and you want to, ramp up your social media presence. Spend a couple of bucks, get an influencer saying some good things about you. It seems like it would make a lot of sense.
Yes, it can be very wise investment, but you have to choose wisely in doing it because sometimes you don't know what you don't know about the individuals that are the influencers. So you also have to be careful with that as well.
Yeah. And going back to the idea of the Google person and, the Google reviews, I think you have to systematize it. We've never done that. We've systematized our referral process, but we've never systematized, Google reviews or any of the reviews that I think are really important. I think we're going to start doing that now, even for podcasts, as we call them partners versus, we don't call them guests. When you're a partner, we're trying to market ourselves. We're trying to market you, so it gives us credibility out in the marketplace. If you have a big name, we're going to start really systematizing, reviews from our partners because I think it'll help us and it'll help them in the long run. That's what we're trying to do, kind of act as a partner. So anyway, the reason I say that, the lesson to be learned there, in my opinion, is if you could systematize kind of goodwill, good reviews, I think it goes a long way.
And when it comes to referrals, that's part of training your sales staff.
Yeah.
They have to be trained to ask for it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, someone will suggest someone, but they have to be asking on a regular basis for that, and that's the way it works.
Yeah, and we're very lucky, very, very lucky. I mean, all of our business really to this point has been based on referrals since 1969 to now, and I think that it's easier, less costly. The clients, stick around. Usually they're gonna, if they came to us from via referral, they're gonna tell their friends. I mean, it's just, there's no doubt referrals are the best. But what I would say is it's hard to scale referrals. I mean, it really is. I mean, we have 983 clients last we counted, and it's hard to scale them and get to the 1,000 clients the next week, unless you're sorry about that, unless you're scaling it via the internet as an example. But to the extent possible, we're trying to again systematize our marketing via referral basis, because we love referrals.
Yep, gotta ask.
So okay, let's get ready to land this plane. So what's one last thing that we haven't talked about that you think can add value to an entrepreneur?
I think that people should understand the concept that there's a floor but no ceiling. So there may be a base of what your knowledge is in your craft. There may be a base of what your knowledge is with different aspects of marketing, accounting that within your business. But there's so much you can continue to learn. There's so many different ways. Listening to this podcast, taking different courses, hiring people, hiring coaches to help you with the process of learning how to do things. I think that no one should think they know everything, because even the smartest people in the world have coaches and read to learn more about different aspects. And the more you try to learn, the more you can implement into your business.
Yeah. I mean, everyone should have a coach in some form or fashion. I mean, Tiger Woods has a coach. I mean, the list goes on of, successful athletes, successful professionals that have had coaches. I mean, and if you really think about it, you're only in doing, let's say I'm busy doing my own thing, right? Why not hire a marketing coach as an example, or a sales coach? Because, I'm busy doing my own little thing, whatever that is, as an entrepreneur, and you need help because my expertise isn't in marketing. I'm not going to spend 8 hours a day like you do in marketing. So why not bring on a successful coach in this regard and marketer? So one last time, how does someone get a hold of you?
You can find me at the website profitmasterbusinesssolutions.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Howard Walpoff, WOLPOFF. I'm always open and happy to answer questions for people and see how I can best be of service to them.
Howard, it's been a pleasure. We've spent a half an hour together. I think obviously you've added value to the people who are going to be watching this and listening to this. And I appreciate you taking the time. You could be doing a lot of things right now, and you've decided to be here and, in partnership with us. And that's a big thing. And same thing for all the viewers and listeners out there. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here, because again, you could be doing a lot of things. Hopefully this is going to add value to you as an entrepreneur. If you want to expand your business, get a hold of Howard. If you need anything from us as far as tax help, as far as getting commercial property finance, you know where to find us on the web at vastsolutionsgroup.com. And of course, really, please, if you have any input, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. We're always trying to get better, make ourselves better, and that would include this. And what is this? Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Once again, to everyone, thank you very much.